off? Yeah, it's double.
Yeah.
Like, why?
And then you put it back on. Take it off.
problem. Sir, continuously lived on the street in British Columbia. I'd say.
And we do have low branches, just manufactures the coins that we don't use anymore. At one time it could manufacture 30, and that's what it's called today. The bar is coming up on the right. Here it is, here on the right. You can run in for a quick beer. Straight ahead is the Ben Franklin Bridge. That connects Philadelphia with Camden, New Jersey. The bridge was completed in that honor, but it still retains the honor of being the longest balloon suspension bridge in the country. And coming up on the left in the old, well, I guess, you don't know. And her house is going to be coming up on the right. Just a couple of houses, a couple of doors down. Here it is on the right with the white shutters and the brick facade. Betsy is buried here with husband number 3. And not only, anyone getting off here, by the way? Anyone getting on here? Very much. Thanks for riding with us. I believe there was a bit of God in every man, thus all men were created equal. And of course, William Penn was a Quaker. The old keys on his belt there. The old pennies represent his famous saying, a penny saved is a penny earned, and the old keys represent his famous almanac. And his grave is just here on the left, behind the green, where the panels of glass change colors as we drive by. Watch them change colors. Philadelphia has what's known as the 1% rule, where 1% of public buildings are supposed to be devoted to artwork, and that's the parking garage's contribution towards that. 4 Chinese dragons here on the right. In this parking lot, our Chinatown was founded in 1876 by a tailor, the largest in the country after San Francisco's, which surprised me. I thought New York's was bigger than ours, but no. Surprisingly so, we're bigger than New York's, and I'll take it. We finally beat New York out of something. Now coming up on the right at the next intersection, you'll be able to see the famous Chinese Friendship Gate, which was a gift from China to Philadelphia in the 1980s. It's a beautiful work of art, and when we get into the middle of the intersection, you'll be able to get a good view of it. And of course, our Chinatown, as most Chinatowns across the country, are filled with great restaurants, tea salons, even holistic Asian medical practice. Conventions in there. including the famous Philadelphia Flower Show, which is held the first week in March of every year. Began in 1898. The Reading Terminal Market started as a slaughterhouse. But the famous Bassett's ice cream. Bassett's has been in the market since 1898, still run and owned by the same Bassett family. And guys, you'll never guess what their first flavor of ice cream was. Try guessing. Go ahead, try. No, not vanilla, not chocolate, not chocolate mint, chocolate chip, no, not strawberry. 2019, but I'll bet you nobody ordered it since 1898. They probably still had the original batch in their freezer, getting freezer burned. With our tour, we've got the Hard Rock Cafe on the left, on the ground floor of the Reading Terminal, and that skyscraper that was centrally air conditioned. That ornate building straight ahead of us is Philadelphia City Hall. It's the largest municipal building in the United States. It took almost 30 years to build, from the end of the 19th to the beginning of the 20th century, and it's a masonry structure, meaning that it's supported entirely by the stones with which it's made. There's no from haggling over the price of goods. And there's a statue of John Wanamaker on the left there, holding his raincoat. Hopefully he won't need that today. The building straight in front of us is the Masonic Temple. That's the flagship temple for the Freemasons here in Philadelphia. And that was built in the early 20th year of City Hall, the City Hall Tower, and the statue of William Penn way up on the top there. The top of his hat is 548 feet from the ground. And the statue itself is 37 feet high, and it's facing northeast towards a little spot on the Delaware River called Shakamatsin, which is where William Penn signed the peace treaty with the local indigenous people here, the Lenape. Building on is the famous Love Park. Love Park. Everyone wants to get their picture taken underneath the Love sculpture there, which you can see on the right. Not yet. I'll tell you when. Now here's something you guys might not know. Designed by Edmund Bacon did, and the job Ted, our driver, did. We do have that tip box as you leave the bus. Boardwalk snatched out from underneath them, and nobody wants to ever pay rent to them. With the Art Museum at the other end, which you can see in the distance there behind the mountains. Designed by two French architects, and it was constructed in the 1920s. And those flags that you see on either side of the parkway represent the countries of origin of the populations here in Philadelphia. And it coming to Hickett. And the two buildings in front of us with the columns and the arches, they were designed by Julian Abel. He was the first African-American graduate of the University of Pennsylvania's Architecture School in 1901, and he copied almost exactly the two buildings that flank the Place de la Concorde in Paris. And the building on the right is now the main branch of the Free Library of Philadelphia. Ben Franklin founded the free library system here because he didn't want people to have to pay to read. And now there are over 100 branches of free libraries throughout Philadelphia. The museum on the right is the famous Barnes Foundation. That's got one of the largest collections of Impressionist art in the world. The collection is valued at over $30 billion. And there's masterpiece after masterpiece in there by all the famous collection of sculptures by Auguste Rodin outside of Paris. And out in front of the museum, you'll see Rodin's famous sculpture, The Thinker. And on the doors to the museum itself in the back on the right is Rodin's famous sculpture, featured briefly in the film. And when we get up there, you'll see why Bruce used it, because it looks like a haunted house. It's the Bergdorf Mansion, built in the early 20th century. The Bergdorfs were a beer brewing family. been on the market for many years. They keep lowering the price, but nobody wants to buy it. Everyone must think that it's really haunted. It's coming up at this next intersection. And folks, there it is, the Bergdahl Mansion on the left. It's for sale. Penitentiary, built in the United States in the early 19th century. It's not a jail anymore. It hasn't been since 1930. The other famous resident was Willie Sutton, the gentleman bank robber. But Willie got the last laugh in the end. They put him in a prison that supposedly was escape-proof, and he promptly escaped from there.
Concentrating mechanically. Let's try to get his head straight. That.
And I said